What's going on, YouTubers, Mopar people? Mopar Man 1978 here. Want to go over a topic that has been covered off and on over the years concerning Thermoquad carburetors and Quadrajets, whatever you want to call them. Anyway, there's always been talk about, well, found out my carburetor's leaking inside. There's around the threads, there's a port plug that's leaking, or so if you got a Thermoquad on the bottom of the plastic body, you have the little factory fuel well caps that from the factory are glued on to the bottom of the plastic body. That when the gasoline is in the little fuel reservoirs in the carburetor, they go down through and go through a port in the carburetor of the plastic body and transfer the fuel. Anyway, those have been known to either over time start leaking, or the sealant cracks, pops off, or the whole cap just pops off because of the sealant that they use over the years has gotten brittle. Anyway, there's always talk on live chats on different channels and different articles and even how to rebuild or modify your Thermoquad or Quadrajet carburetor, whatever. Like, I couldn't find my Quadrajet and Thermoquad aftermarket book on how to rebuild and modify them. But anyway, everybody, people talk about, oh, use JB Weld. Oh yeah, I've used it for years. Well, but then they have problems with the carburetor still running rich, so they try to do everything they could, and then they find out that they took the carburetor back apart and it's leaking again, and so they just junk the Thermoquads, whatever, or and they decide to go get an Edelbrock, whatever. Not, I like Edelbrocks, all that stuff. So, but anyway, this is a tech tip video. I use the best thing I found to use, and like I said, I don't have none of the stuff in front of me because I couldn't find the little container and the little vial and the box that the stuff came in, or an actual Thermoquad. I used to have a Thermoquad, so I'd probably be able to show you a little bit better in the video. Anyway, for years, I bought one Thermoquad many years ago. Had the problem with the little cap, little fuel cap popping off it popped off the bottom of the deal from the previous owner, or whatever happened to it. They threw it somewhere on the pile and it popped off. Anyway, long story short, I looked up and down in articles and rebuild manuals and all kinds of stuff. Can never figure out, and went through online and different web searches on Thermoquads dealing with those little how to re-glue them little fuel caps back on. I even tried a clear two-part epoxy, which the gasoline just ate through, so I was back to square one on that one. I can't remember how I stumbled across it. It was in a Pontiac or a Buick website, a forum dealing with Quadrajets or whatever, and the guy in there said that he for years has used a product called Marine Tex, basically just marine, and then there's a little line, and then it says TEX, Marine Tex. Usually Ace Hardware carries it, but other Ace Hardware stores usually have to order it. I bought my stuff on Amazon, but he said that's the best stuff that he used to fix leaks in his Quadrajet. And then he also said that the guy also happened to own a Mopar, and he had a Thermoquad that had the same issue. The little cap off the underside of the plastic body popped off. Anyway, what he did was where the cap rests on the little part on the plastic body. There's going to be like a little lip like this going all the way around that the little cap sits on, and then on the cap itself it has the opposite kind of lip, a little level lip like this, for it to kind of basically sit on, so it's not sliding back and forth. It kind of anchors it to it. Anyway, you go buy a cheap pack of the women's or men's, whatever, but mainly women use it. The little cheap pack of fingernail files. It has a coarse side and a smooth, less coarse side on the other. Anyway, what you do is you take the edge of it, or you can go to the hobby shop and get you a little coarse little file for sanding little nooks and crannies. Anyway, you go around on the flat part of the lip, the two little lips on the cap itself, and then real careful to go around that lip on the plastic body itself on the carburetor, and you just rough up those little flat spots on there just enough to give it some texture. And then what you do is you take your Marine Tex. It's a 2-part epoxy. It's comes in a white little tube. Well, I don't know if it's really it's not really a tube. It's a little bottle, little plastic bottle, probably about as round as a 50-cent piece, about 3 inches tall, with a white tin lid, screw-on lid. And then you get a little dark brown glass vial with the hardener and in the kit. Anyway, you take that little small amount of the white epoxy and then a drop or two of the hardener, and you mix it all up, and then you just put a thin coat around on that lip on the plastic body, and then maybe a little bit on the cap itself, and then you just set that down on there. And then what I do is I will take whatever squeezes out the sides and smear it around the seam to where it's basically kind of like how the transmission guy did this, to kind of cover and then smear and then coat and cover up the crevice, the crease around there, so it's anchored. Anyway, let it dry for 48 hours just to make sure it's fully cured. Once it's on there, it's on there. It's sandable if you want to sand it. Maybe if there might be a high spot in the epoxy, and you try to put that plastic body back down on the aluminum base plate, and there might be a little spot catching, you can actually take another one of the fingernail files and sand it. That Marine Tex is originally used for boat applications, but the guy in the Pontiac forum on the article said that whatever article he read about the Marine Tex was they had done something to do with a fuel pump or a carburetor or something that had to be submerged in gasoline. They submerged this part in gasoline for over 48 hours with this Marine Tex put on it, added as a bonding agent / sealing agent. And over the past the 48 hours, this Marine Tex epoxy withstood the gasoline. It did not bubble up, it did not peel, it did not flake, whatever it was did not leak. And then he said so he tried it on his carburetors, and he said, when I read the article, he says that the Quadrajet and Thermoquad that he did was still to this day still working, no leaks, the cap stayed on, because he took it off just to make sure that there might not have been anything. You want to make sure after driving the car, putting it through the heating up and the cooling processes over a period of time, you wanted to take it back off and check to make sure it wasn't leaking. He says it was still on there since the day he put it on. So do not use JB Weld of any brand, any other epoxies. I've used this Marine Tex. If I had the carburetor here, I'd show you how I did it. I might even buy a junk one just to maybe in another video. A junk one that's not worth rebuilding. That's maybe just find the body itself, the plastic body, and I could show you what I'm talking about. Anyway, here is the, if you'd like to know, here is the part number from Amazon. It's let's see if we can get a better photo of it here on the top of this magazine here. Yeah, Marine Tex, part number RM305K. It's white, comes in a 2-ounce, what I said, little vial or container with that little little brown transparent glass tube of the hardener. OEM part number is PHR3011. U as in Union. And right now on Amazon they got it for $16.99 per box. And comes in a white box but with red and blue lettering, like basically red, white, and blue lettering. Anyway, that's what I've used. I've used it on sealing off ports on other carburetors. Maybe something that's got to be screwed in that could possibly leak fuel through the threads. I put that little bit of Marine Tex on there and put it in the threads. On my 1-barrel carburetor on the Dart, I wanted to take the 1-barrel carburetor, the Carter 1-barrel, completely apart, clean out all the ports. I drilled out all the little crush plugs, and what I did was I went through and cleaned the entire carburetor, because I thought I found out that one of the ports got a little plugged with some stuff. My car wouldn't run right at the time when I was driving it. Anyway, I went and bought a assorted kit of all kinds of different size, real fine little threaded Allen head plugs. And then what I did is I went to the Menards or O'Reilly's, whatever, and I bought the proper size taps that I needed, the fine threaded taps. And I just basically threaded a certain section of the hole, and then whatever I did was use some of that Marine Tex on the threads and sealed that port up with that plug. You can also, in place of the Marine Tex, if you don't want to use Marine Tex, Permatex makes a gray sealant in a squeeze tube, and on the front it'll show a figure on a BMX or on a dirt bike. It's gas proof. The sealant is. It's a gray sticky paste, real high tack or sticky paste. Anyway, I did that too, and you got to let that set up as long or longer than the Marine Tex epoxy. But you don't. But with that gray stuff, you don't have to. It's not a two-part. It already comes pre-made. But anyway, rambling on long enough. You have any questions concerning that? Whatever. Let me know in the comment section. I want to try to cover topics that's maybe a certain part, like this video, that gets left out in articles or rebuild manuals or live chats, stuff that I've found out over the years. And that's why even in the live chats, when somebody mentions about having a leaky Thermoquad, I try to post a comment about the Marine Tex in there. So that's why I did this video, because I've went through and I've tried the JB Weld, I've tried the clear epoxies and all this other stuff that was supposed to be resistant. And that's the key word, resistant. Resistant doesn't mean proof. It doesn't mean 100% that it's going to work. There's always a possibility, just like with if you have water resistant clothing, it doesn't mean it's waterproof. Anyway, but wanted to cover that, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you got something out of it. Hope it helps your project, carburetor, rebuild, whatever. Have a good day.